Sneakers. Once upon a time, they were just a pair of shoes. Athletes wore them on the court or on the track, and that was it. But today, sneakers have become a billion-dollar industry. They are collectibles, status symbols, and even investments, traded like stocks. And at the center of this cultural shift stands one name: Nike. Nike didn't just sell footwear, they created an entire culture. From Air Jordans to limited edition collaborations, they turned sneakers into identity. Every drop became an event. Every shoe carried a story. And how did they manage to do this? Not just with marketing, but with a strategy that transforms sneakers from a simple product into a global obsession. In this video, we'll explore how Nike managed to take sneakers and build one of the most powerful billion-dollar cultures the world has ever seen. Today, we see Nike as the king of sneakers, but there was a time when Nike wasn't even part of sneaker culture. The company's journey started back in 1964 when Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman founded Blue Ribbon Sports. At that time, their focus was on just one thing: running shoes. Bowerman, a track coach, was obsessed with creating lightweight and fast shoes for athletes. Nike's first designs were built entirely around performance. In 1971, the company officially changed its name to Nike, and the famous swoosh logo was introduced. But even then, Nike was still just a niche sports brand. During the 1970s, Nike's running shoes began gaining popularity, and the company carved out a solid place in America's sports market. But there was one big limitation: running shoes appealed only to athletes. If Nike wanted to become a global giant, it needed to move beyond sports and create a cultural connection. That opportunity appeared in basketball and lifestyle. At the time, Adidas and Converse dominated the basketball courts. Entering this space was not easy, but Nike was willing to take the risk, and that risk would open the door to an entirely new era. Nike realized that performance alone would not secure its future. The brand needed a personality, an identity that could inspire everyday youth, not just professional athletes. This laid the foundation for what would eventually become Air Jordan. And with that, Nike began its transformation from a footwear company into a cultural powerhouse. In the early 1980s, Nike was a growing sports brand, but in the world of basketball, they were barely noticeable. Converse and Adidas were the kings of the court. Every major NBA player wore their shoes. For Nike, breaking into basketball seemed almost impossible. But this was the moment when they made a risky decision: to sign a rookie player. That rookie's name was Michael Jordan. In 1984, Jordan was entering the NBA. He was a promising young athlete, but there was no guarantee he would become a superstar. Adidas was his first choice, and Converse showed some interest, but neither company made him a priority. Nike saw the opportunity. They offered Jordan a record-breaking 5-year, $2.5 million deal, a figure unheard of at the time. But Nike didn't just sign a player, they built an entire shoe line around him: the Air Jordan 1. It was a gamble. If Jordan failed, the investment would collapse. Instead, what followed was nothing less than a cultural revolution. The NBA banned the Air Jordan 1 for violating league uniform rules. But Nike turned this into genius marketing. Their ad declared, "The NBA banned them, but you can't." Instantly, Air Jordans became a symbol of rebellion. Jordan's performance on the court fueled the hype. Every time he dominated a game, fans noticed his shoes. Young people weren't just idolizing a player, they were idolizing a brand. Air Jordans became a statement, a piece of identity. Nike added another layer: scarcity. They released Jordans in limited quantities. Anyone could want them, but not everyone could have them. That combination of exclusivity and Jordan's rising superstardom gave birth to something bigger than sports: sneaker culture. For Nike, Air Jordan was the turning point. It was the first time sneakers became more than just sportswear. They became fashion. They became status. And most importantly, they became the foundation for a billion-dollar culture that continues to thrive today. After the success of Air Jordan, Nike realized something powerful. The true strength of sneakers wasn't just in the product itself, it was in the perception. A good shoe mattered, yes, but what mattered even more was the story, the hype, and the culture around it. Nike mastered this formula: scarcity, storytelling, collaboration, and community. The first weapon was scarcity. Nike never released hype sneakers in unlimited supply. Every drop was deliberately limited. Demand was always higher than supply. This instantly transformed sneakers from simple footwear into luxury items. People lined up for hours outside stores, not because they needed shoes, but because owning them felt like winning a trophy. Scarcity made sneakers aspirational. The second weapon was exclusivity through collaborations. Nike expanded beyond athletes and sports. They entered music, fashion, and street culture. Collaborations with Virgil Abloh's Off-White, Travis Scott, and countless others turned Nike sneakers into pop culture icons. These were not just shoes anymore. They were wearable art pieces. And for customers, wearing them meant belonging to an elite community. The third element was storytelling. Nike never sold shoes as products. Every sneaker carried a narrative. The Air Jordan symbolized rebellion. Kobe Bryant's shoes represented the Mamba mentality. Collaborations celebrated different cultures and subcultures. When customers bought a Nike sneaker, they weren't just buying material. They were buying identity, a philosophy, and a piece of history. The fourth weapon was community and culture building. Nike turned sneaker launches into global events. Midnight lines outside stores, online raffles, and resale wars became part of the hype. When a shoe that retailed for $150 resold for $1,000, people understood that sneakers weren't just fashion, they were assets. Platforms like StockX and GOAT, worth billions today, exist largely because Nike created this hype-driven ecosystem. The fifth element was Nike's marketing tone. Aspirational, yet personal. Just do it wasn't just a slogan, it was a mindset. Nike positioned its products not only for elite athletes, but for everyday people who wanted to push their limits. It was relatability combined with aspiration, an unbeatable formula. Finally, Nike's greatest secret was control over supply and demand. They never flooded the market with hype sneakers. Instead, Nike maintained tension. Will I get this drop or not? That uncertainty fueled obsession. Every release felt like a lottery. And for those who managed to buy, it wasn't just a purchase. It was validation, proof that they were special. This was Nike's genius. They elevated sneakers from being mere sports accessories into cultural currency. Today, sneakers are not just shoes. They're collectibles, conversation starters, investments, status symbols, and most importantly, identity. And behind all of it lies Nike's marketing strategy, which never sold just footwear. It sold dreams, emotions, and belonging. That's how Nike turned sneakers into one of the most powerful billion-dollar obsessions in the world. Today, when we talk about sneakers, their true value isn't defined by the retail price. The real game lies in the resale market, a world where sneakers are no longer just products. They've become assets. And the biggest architect of this economy is Nike. Nike's hype strategy created an entirely new marketplace. Imagine this: a shoe that retails for $150 ends up selling for $1,000, or sometimes even $5,000 on resale platforms. And people are willing to pay. Why? Because Nike turned sneakers from simple footwear into powerful status symbols. The resale boom started in the early 2000s, when older Air Jordans became highly sought after among collectors. Over time, a community of sneakerheads emerged, people who chased every release, building collections and treating them like investment portfolios. Nike fueled this obsession with limited drops and exclusive collaborations. Then came the resale platforms. StockX, GOT, and Flight Club transformed sneakers into official trading assets. On these platforms, people don't just buy and sell. They bid, they speculate, they treat sneakers like stocks. And here's the staggering part. Over 70% of transactions on StockX involve Nike or Jordan sneakers. If the resale economy is like a stock exchange, then Nike is its blue chip stock. Every limited Nike drop shakes the resale market. Take the Travis Scott Times Air Jordan 1. Retail price, around $175. Resale, over $2,000. Or Virgil Abloh's Off-White collaborations with Nike. Some pairs have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. These aren't just shoes anymore. They are cultural currency. And here's the genius. Even though Nike doesn't directly profit from resale prices, they still win because resale strengthens the brand's prestige. If people are willing to pay $1,000 for a Nike sneaker, it tells the world that Nike is worth chasing. Every hype release creates a ripple effect. Retail buyers feel the pressure not to miss out on the next drop. Nike's demand engine keeps spinning. The resale market has turned sneakers into financial instruments. Today's youth don't just keep sneakers in their closets, they treat them as investments. Some students pay for their college tuition by flipping sneakers. Others show off their collections online as a form of social currency. Sneakers are no longer about fashion, they've become a lifestyle, a statement, and even a career. And the biggest winner in all of this? Nike. They didn't just sell shoes. They built an economy. They created a culture where people line up overnight, enter raffles, and trade shoes as if they were stocks. The truth is, the sneaker resale market isn't a side effect. It's living proof of Nike's marketing genius. By controlling supply, fueling hype, and attaching cultural meaning to every release, Nike transforms sneakers into the new gold. And as long as this culture thrives, Nike's empire will only continue to grow. Sneakers are no longer just shoes. They are billion-dollar commodities. Today, Nike isn't just a sports brand. Nike is a culture that stretches from basketball courts to rap videos, from streetwear to fashion runways. Nike's genius was turning products into more than performance gear. They became symbols of identity and belonging. The first pillar was sports. Nike's DNA has always been built around empowering athletes. Michael Jordan gave them dominance in basketball, but Nike partnered with superstars across all sports. Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, Cristiano Ronaldo, LeBron James. These weren't just endorsements, they were a message. Wear Nike and you belong to greatness. Nike also understood emotion in sports. Their ads never focused on shoe features alone. Each ad told a story. A runner practicing through the rain. A footballer rising after every fall. A kid dreaming big. Every story drove a single emotion. Just do it. Then came music. In the 1980s and 90s, as hip-hop culture exploded, Nike embraced it. Sneakers appeared in rap videos, and the Air Force One became an anthem. Artists from Jay-Z to Nelly immortalized Nike in their lyrics. Nike realized that music is the voice of youth. Being in music meant being in culture. Nike sneakers were no longer just for athletes. They became the uniform of rappers, DJs, and dancers. From subculture to global trend, this was the moment sneakers became a worldwide phenomenon. Today, Nike is part of high fashion. Once reserved for luxury brands, runways now feature Nike collaborations. Virgil Abloh's Off-White x Nike projects elevated sneakers to the elite fashion world. Even brands like Balenciaga, Dior, and Comme des Garçons integrated sneakers into their identity. Nike created a dual positioning: accessible streetwear for the masses and luxury collectibles for elites. This balance is unmatched. Adidas or Reebok have never mastered this duality. Nike's biggest masterstroke was building community. Sneakerheads formed a cult-like bond while waiting in lines for releases. Social media amplified it. Instagram sneaker photography, YouTube unboxing videos, TikTok hype countdowns. Nike kept fans engaged across every platform, and this sense of belonging created value. People weren't just buying shoes, they were buying identity. Owning Nike became a statement. I'm part of this culture. Nike's domination isn't just in sales numbers. It's seen when a kid proudly shows his first Jordans. when a rapper mentions Nike in lyrics, when an athlete wears Nike in the biggest game of their life. Nike proved that a brand's true power lies not just in its products, but in its culture. By dominating culture, Nike built an empire that isn't just worth billions, it's timeless. Looking back at Nike's journey, one thing becomes clear. Nike didn't just sell shoes. They created a culture, an identity, and a global obsession. From the first Air Jordan launch to today's billion-dollar resale market, Nike has always followed a single strategy: sell emotion and storytelling along with the product. Nike's genius was turning scarcity into power. Limited releases, exclusive collaborations, and carefully controlled supply transformed sneakers from ordinary to extraordinary. People lined up for hours, entered raffles, and treated shoes as investments. Scarcity became Nike's secret weapon, driving global obsession and demand. The second insight is storytelling and identity. Every Nike sneaker tells a story. Air Jordans represented rebellion and greatness. Kobe and LeBron shoes symbolized dedication and mental toughness. Each product carried a philosophy. When customers bought a pair, they weren't just buying footwear. They were buying lifestyle, status, and belonging. The third lesson is community and culture. Nike turned sneakerheads into a family, a cult-like community. Social media amplified this engagement. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Nike was everywhere, keeping fans involved. People weren't just buying shoes, they were joining a movement. Fourth, and perhaps the most powerful takeaway, is multi-dimensional dominance. Nike established a presence across sports, music, fashion, and street culture. Their dual identity, accessible to the masses yet aspirational to elites, gave Nike unmatched brand power. Competitors like Adidas or Reebok have never reached this level of cultural dominance. Finally, Nike teaches a critical lesson. Product quality matters, but culture and emotion are far more powerful. When you create emotional connection and identity for your audience, even small brands can challenge industry giants. And here's the ultimate takeaway for entrepreneurs, marketers, and brands. People don't just buy products. They buy meaning, identity, and belonging. When you offer this, you're not just building a business, you're building an empire. If Nike's story inspired you, just imagine how many more powerful business stories are waiting to be told. You're only one click away from discovering them, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. This is just the beginning. There are so many more stories to explore, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.